Okay, welcome back again. This is the final part of part one. Again, I'm still on the order of the five W's and how they show us if we are asking, saying, or telling. And this time I'm going to focus on asking, questioning. So let's go ahead and move there. Put myself, I'll keep moving myself as I do this because um, it's hard to fit myself on the screen, so that's fine. Here it says, ask is to question and to learn. We ask to learn. We question to learn. If you're afraid to ask, you're afraid to learn. If you're not learning, you're not growing. So this is very important. When asking, the verbs always come first. Unless, of course, they are following the six W's or actually the five W's. My apologies. So they can be positive or they can be negative. Let's look further at this. So we have do, does, or did, or don't, doesn't, didn't, is, isn't, am not, are, aren't, was, wasn't, were, weren't. Or for the verb to have, we have, has, or haven't, hasn't, and had or hadn't. And for the modal here, we have will or won't, can or can't, could or couldn't, etc. Let's move along. So when we look at this pattern, this is quite simple. It says we have the verb first. So we have the verb first. The subject, as you can see, marked by the card, and is second with the object is last. So we have verb, subject, verb again, and then object. So verb, subject, verb, object. So we have what, who or what, and then who, what, where, when, how, why as the order of our thought process. So we can have a modal, we can have do, we can have or be, followed by who or what, followed by one of the seven patterns. Again, 3 for be, 2 for have, and 2 for do, followed by who, what, where, when, how, and why, which we're going to follow these words to program ourselves to automatically, without even thinking, just a reflex to follow what comes next. So we don't have to think about it. It just becomes a reflex. We learn this order: someone, something, someplace, sometime, some way, and for some reason. So let's go ahead and go to the next part. Okay, now when asking questions and starting with any of the five W's, the basic habit is to use a singular verb in the present and the past. Maybe it's because any one possible answer would have to be either a man, a woman, or a thing. It's he, she, or it. Or maybe it's simply because it sounds more natural to fluent English speakers. Being it is a habit that we learn from others, handed down through the ages from our grandparents and our friends and teachers and the TV and the media and everything around us. Of course, I particularly believe that form follows function. So because of this fact that any one thing that you would answer, unless you're saying very clearly that it's not a he, she, or it to begin with, then it would have to be a he, she, or it to answer. And those would be singular in this case. So here you can see I've laid out this, put myself down here so you can see this. So we have who, what, where, when, how, and why. And from here we have every position. You could say who is, has, does, or whose person, place, thing, or idea. You can see I have this up here like this. A person, place, thing, or idea is, has, or does. What is, has, or does. What kind of person, place, thing, or idea is, has, or does. What type of person, place, thing, or idea is, has, or does. Or which person, place, thing, or idea is, has, or does. Where is, has, or does. When is, has, or does. How adjective is. Yeah. And we have how many things, yeah, people, places, or ideas are, have, or do. How much, because you can't count it being singular, is, has, or does. So how much of something or someone, yeah, is, has, or does. Many things, much of something is the base rule. And then how adverb does, always. So how fast is the car? How fast does it go, for example? And why is, has, or does. So this is your base chart for, if you memorize this, and all children do, then you can make a perfect question every time. So let's go back and look at this. And this is an example of that. So again, to ask is a question to learn, I'll put myself up here. So to begin with, we have, for 1 second, we have who, what, where, when, how, and why. That's the order. So above this for who. So who is, has, or does, right? Or modal. So who does or doesn't, who is or isn't, who has or hasn't, who will or won't, can or can't. For example, what is, has, or does, where is, has, or does, when is, has, or does, how is, has, or does, or why is, has, or does is your base position to go for asking basic questions. So when we move along here, this can change a little depending on if the question is subject or object driven. So when it's subject driven, the subject is the doer, instead of the object is the receiver. The subject is the doer, the object is the receiver, basically, in English. So when we have the subject here first, we can, when starting with the 5 W's, you can say who, then the verb, then who or what, then the 7 patterns, and then again we have the 5 W's. So this is your basic pattern. So who is he talking to, for example? So when, for example, when does it burn? Oh, so burn would be here, verb. When does it burn? I'm just making up random ideas here. But you can see this is the order. So using the 5 W's, followed by the modal, the verb to do, the verb to have, and the verb to be, followed by someone or something, which is the subject, followed by this any one of the 7 patterns, followed by an object in the order of someone, something, some place, sometime, some way, and for some reason. Let's keep going. Now, sometimes the question can be object driven. So in this case, we start with the 5 W's, then we go to the 7 patterns, and we end with an object driven by someone, something, some place, some time, some way, and for some reason. This never changes. This is very static. So in this case, we're not going to use where, when, or why. We're just going to use who and what as our base position. And we can modify who or what with how. So how big of man is running with him, for example. Okay, or with it. Okay, or at it. Yeah, or at the park at noon. This kind of thing, because you're following this order every time. So if we're going to say how many, it's always going to be plural. This is a symbol for plurality. So how many things? And if you're going to say how much, it's always going to be singular. Yeah. And there's a pattern that follows that. We can go here. I can show it to you. This pattern shows you. So if it's countable nouns, which are plural, they're always plural. You must use the article s after the noun. So how many of the books? How many of these books? How many of those books? How many of my books? How many of my 25 books? Or how much of the love? How much of this love? How much of that love? How much of my love? Because it's singular, the noun at the end may not carry an S. So this pattern is always the same. If you learn these 2 positions, here and here, you can modify a noun perfectly every time through instinct, via reflex. So let's go back again. So this just shows that you can do those patterns for many or much. And after you say those patterns, you must follow with a person or a thing, noun. Okay. And then is followed by one of the 7 patterns, and then always an object. So how many people ran him to the store at noon for coffee? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. The point here is that you follow this pattern in this order, and it shows you how to ask the question properly. This is an object-driven question. Now, in this position, I want to continue with this because this is a map. And if you learn this map, you will always be able to ask a question perfectly. So I already showed this to you. This is a review in the back, and it's for you to look at and study and to get more fluency with. So let's look at who first. So we have who or whose, person, place, thing, or idea, which is the possessive adjective. It shows you right here, right? Who or whose. So whose, person, place, thing, or idea, which is a noun. Who's, someone or something, 3 separate possibilities, in this position for who. So when you go there, it says who is, has, does, or modal, yeah? Or it can say whose, person, place, thing, or idea, noun, followed by is, has, does, or modal. Okay, so let's go back. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's look at this a little closer, just for 1 second. Here in this case, we're asking to question and learn still, of course. The question whose is used to inquire about possession or ownership. It's used to ask about whose, person, place, thing, or idea is, has, does, or will, could, can, should, might, right? Plus the 7 patterns. So who or whose, person, place, thing, or idea, someone or something, is, has, does, or modal. Okay, let's go ahead and go back. Let's go to what. So we can have what, is, has, does, modal. Which, noun, is, has, does, modal. Noun is someone or something, right? Person, place, thing, or idea. It's right here. There's the noun, right? What kind of person, place, thing, or idea, and what type of person, place, thing, or idea. So let's look at that. So what is, has, does, or modal, or which noun is, has, does, or modal, or what kind of or type of person, place, thing, or idea is, has, does, or modal. So here, as we look at this, it says ask. What is used to ask questions to get information about things, their quality or character? So what type of asks for a particular form or classification? What kind of asks for a specific type, variety, category, or genre? So what kind of person, place, thing, or idea? What type of person, place, thing, or idea? Or which person, place, thing, or idea? Someone or something. Which is used when you can or must choose between more than one thing. Only when you must choose, when you must make a choice. Oh, let's go back. So that's every position for what. Let's go to where. I'm asking the question where. This is very simple. Where is, has, does, or modal. That's all you can do. Next, when. When asking when, it is when, is, has, does, or modal. Okay, that's it. Let's go to how. How I think is the most involved, but it's still simple. Let's go to how. So you can ask the question here. I'll start here, move myself here first. Simply how is, has, does, or modal. Next, you can say how adverb always does and does only. You say how adjective is be verb only. How many person, place, thing, or ideas, always plural, because it's plural, are, have, do, or modal. And how much is always singular, so how much person, place, thing, or idea, singular, which cannot have an S, so it's always is, has, does. How much always is, has, does. How many always are, have, do. Very nice. So when we're asking here, let me put myself down here for a second. How is frequently used with adjectives and adverbs when forming questions. How helps to ask about how something is done. Like when you ask, how fast can or do you run? How, adverb, do or don't, yeah, have or haven't, or can or can't, or will or won't. And how, and then adjectives is only be verb. How, right here, helps to ask about how much or in what way something is. Like when you ask, how big is it? Which is an adjective. Okay. Again, we're using how here. So how is frequently used with nouns when forming questions. How helps to ask about how much or in what the quantity of something is. Like when you ask, how much is it? How much is for things that are uncountable or singular. How much water is, has, does, or modal. How many, plural, how much being singular, how many being plural, singular icon, plural icon. How many is for things that are countable. How many are there? So how many books, how much water, singular, uncountable, how many books, countable. How many books do, are, have. Also, here's this pattern again. Countable nouns always follow this pattern. How many of, how many, and then of, and then the choice of one of these three. Of the, of these or those, of my, or of 25, or of the 25, or of these 25, of those 25, or of my 25. The number can be combined, used with any of these. And then the following noun must have an S at the end. So how many of the 25 dogs, for example? And then in this case, when it's singular, is how much, always singular, is always singular. So how much of the, how much of, and then one of these three. How much of the love, how much of this love, how much of that love, how much of my love do. Always, how much of my love does he need? How much of my love is important to you? Yeah. For example, so we go back. And then the last position, these are here as a quick guide for you, here and here. And the last position, excuse me. Oops, back again, my apologies. The last position here is why. So why is simple. It's like where and when. Simply why is, has, or does, or modal. So that is a set of flowcharts to show you how to ask questions using the 5 W's plus H for those 6 positions in the English language. So from here, your next step would be, oh, excuse me, let me go back here. Go back to Y. After Y, we simply go to part 2. Part 2 is about nouns. So I'll see you there. Thank you for your hard work and for paying attention and following along. See you in a minute.